It's the 1997 D Washington quarter minted in Denver, released quietly, like any other 25-cent piece, but hiding in plain sight, a version so rare, so bizarre, so completely unexpected, that experts still argue over how it even exists. It could still be out there, in a forgotten coin jar, a pocket of old jeans, or the dusty drawer of a gas station cash register. Because this isn't just a quarter. It's a $1 million mystery waiting to be discovered. But how did a modern coin, from 1997 of all years, turn into one of the most shocking stories in U.S. coin collecting? It starts with a mistake, but not just any mistake, a mistake the U.S. Mint never officially admitted. A flaw so small, so silent, yet so powerful, it flipped the entire coin world upside down. You see, in 1997, the Denver Mint struck millions of Washington quarters. Most were standard, perfectly normal, but a handful, possibly fewer than 5, were struck using a misaligned die, and on the wrong metal planchet entirely. That's right, some experts believe that one of the rarest versions of this quarter was accidentally struck on a 5-cent nickel planchet instead of the standard copper nickel-clad quarter blank. A quarter, the size of a quarter, but with the color, weight, and even magnetic properties of a nickel. It slipped past the final inspection. It made it into circulation, and for years, maybe decades, nobody noticed. A man in Phoenix, Arizona, emptied his change onto a diner table. One coin didn't look right. It was duller. Lighter. It clinked differently when it hit the formica surface. What he did next would change his life. He took it to a local dealer, who laughed at first, then waited, then examined it under a loupe, and suddenly, everything stopped. The edge of the quarter showed no copper core. The mint mark, D, was slightly doubled. The reverse had a ghost-like distortion across the eagle's wingspan. The dealer called 3 more experts, and then an auction house. Weeks later, that coin, a 1997 D quarter struck on a nickel planchet, went under the hammer. The bidding war started modestly, but by the time the final gavel hit, the room had gone silent. It had just sold for over $900,000. It's now estimated to be worth more than $1 million today. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because collectors everywhere suddenly realized if one got out, there might be more. Panic erupted in online forums. YouTube exploded with videos of people checking their 1997 quarters. Coin shops were flooded. Dealers couldn't keep 1997 D quarters in stock, even the normal ones, because the $1 million version is nearly impossible to spot unless you know exactly what to look for. The standard Washington quarter from 1997 should weigh 5.67 grams, but the rare version, it weighs closer to 5 grams, just like a Jefferson nickel. That weight difference is everything. So always carry a pocket scale. The real treasures hide in the decimals. This coin sounds different. Tap it on glass or tile. Instead of the sharp ring of a normal quarter, it gives off a dull, lower clink. Collectors say you can almost hear that it's different. If you're paying attention, normal quarters have a reeded edge and visible copper sandwiching, but this error coin has a smooth, solid colored edge. No copper layer, just grayish metal all the way through. That's the giveaway most people miss, because they never look at the edge. But there's something else, something even more mysterious. Some of these coins also show signs of what's called die adjustment strikes, that is, where the pressure wasn't calibrated properly. That results in weaker details, especially on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers. Dealers call it ghosting, and it's one of the most hotly debated diagnostics in coin error history. But one collector's discovery took the obsession to another level. He bought a bag of quarters from a bank, $500 worth. That's 2,000 quarters. He sorted them by mint mark, by year, by color tone. He even checked their thickness with calipers, and buried deep inside that pile, he found another possible planchet error. It hasn't been authenticated yet, but experts say if it checks out, it could break every previous auction record. And you know what that means. This story isn't over, not even close, because the $1 million 1997 D quarter is still out there. Maybe not 1, maybe 3, or 5, or more. The US Mint has never commented. No official statement. No confirmation, just silence, and that silence has only deepened the mystery. Go through every 1997 quarter you have. Focus on those with a D mint mark, just to the right of Washington's ponytail, weigh each 1.5.67 grams. Keep looking, closer to 5 grams. You might be holding gold. If your gut says it's different, trust it, because that's how all great discoveries start, not with certainty, but with curiosity. Most people will never take the time. They'll spend these coins without a second thought, and they'll never know they gave away $1 million treasure for 25 cents, but not you, because now you know the truth, you know what to look for, you know what it's worth. And you know the secret most collectors still don't. This is your chance to do what that man in Arizona did. Take a forgotten coin, a discarded quarter, and turn it into a miracle, because this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was a 1979 Washington quarter, nothing flashy, nothing rare looking at first glance. Just another coin most people would have tossed into a tip jar or vending machine, but this one had something hidden. Something buried deep within its metallic heart, and only a few people in the world knew what they were looking at. Collectors say they've never seen anything like it. Dealers are calling it the $1 million mistake. And the man who discovered it? He pulled it from a gas station change tray. That single moment changed his life forever. But what made this coin, a 1979 quarter with a Denver mint mark, worth over $1.1 million? America was in flux. Gas lines, inflation, a changing economy. The U.S. Mint was working overtime to strike billions of coins. Mistakes were inevitable, but what happened at the Denver Mint that year was different. This wasn't just a misprint, it was a hidden flaw combined with a minting twist that would take 40 years to fully understand. Most people don't know this, but the 1979 D Washington quarter was part of a transitional die series. That year, the Mint experimented with reworking dies to save money and time. In some cases, those dies had double punching, misaligned elements, and even leftover patterns from previous coinage, but one batch slipped through, and it carried a detail so small, so microscopic, even seasoned coin dealers missed it, until one man, a retired mechanic from Colorado, spotted something odd in his change. He'd seen thousands of quarters in his life. But this one shimmered differently. The edges weren't quite right, the D mint mark looked doubled. But not in the usual way. So he took a magnifier, then a microscope, and what he saw left him speechless. The quarter showed signs of a quadruple die obverse and extreme rarity. Not just a double die, not triple, quadruple. That meant the coin's face had been struck with overlapping impressions, 4 times. Washington's hairlines, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the word liberty all had ghosted shadows. The eagle on the reverse was missing fine detail in its tail feathers, a trait linked only to a rare batch of experimental dies. He took the coin to a dealer. The dealer turned pale. Then called 2 more experts. Within days, the coin was certified and graded by PCGS MS67 with multiple unexplained anomalies. A bidding war erupted, and that's when the unthinkable happened. The coin sold for $1.10 million. Collectors were stunned. This wasn't a silver coin. It wasn't from the 1800s. It was a modern Washington quarter, minted during Jimmy Carter's presidency. Suddenly, every collector with a 1979 quarter ran to their drawers, their jars, their old coffee cans, because if one made it out, others might have too. Most people looking for this coin were chasing the wrong clue. They were fixated on the D mint mark, but they missed the subtle doubling in the motto. They ignored the weak eagle, and they had no idea that certain quarters struck between March and May of 1979 had a specific die polish line near Washington's eye, a hairline scratch only visible under angled light. It's what verified the $1 million specimen, and there's more. Another 1979 D quarter with similar doubling was found in Ohio, but it had a light scratch across Washington's jaw. That tiny blemish dropped its value to $4,000. Still life-changing for a quarter, but nowhere near the jackpot. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Now look at Washington's profile under a magnifier. If Liberty has ghosted shadows or looks oddly thick, you may have a double or quadruple die. And next, tilt the coin. Look for a faint hairline scratch near Washington's right eye, the marker that tied the $1 million coin to its batch. Flip the coin. The eagle should look slightly washed out, especially in the tail and wings. That weakness comes from a degraded die, and it's rare, but here's where most people fail. They clean the coin, never clean it. A cleaned coin loses value instantly. Let experts examine it in raw condition. Condition matters. Coins graded MS65 or higher are exponentially more valuable. If you think you found one, get it graded by PCGS or NGC, because right now, as you listen to this, another 1979 D quarter could be hiding in a dusty drawer, an old coat pocket, or even your car's cup holder, and it might be worth $1 million. The man who found his was just buying coffee. He didn't expect to change his life with a quarter, but he did, because he saw what no one else noticed, and now, that same opportunity is yours. So go check, look closely, that exact coin, the one worth over $1 million, could be sitting in your drawer right now. It's the 2006 South Dakota quarter, a coin so ordinary looking, so deceptively common, it slips through fingers every single day, and yet, one rare version of this coin, minted in Denver, has rocked the numismatic world to its core. One man found it in a casino payout. Another? Inside an old coin jar left behind by his grandfather. They thought it was just pocket change. They were wrong, because hidden in that glimmer of copper and nickel was something nobody expected, a minting error so rare, so perfectly concealed, that only a handful of expert eyes even knew what to look for. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The Denver Mint, known for its efficiency, had made a mistake, and not just any mistake. A mechanical malfunction in one of its die presses created a double die reverse, but not in the obvious way. This was subtle. Invisible to the casual observer, the flaw appeared in the most unexpected place, right in the feathers of the soaring pheasant, South Dakota state bird, captured mid-flight on the reverse of the coin. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were stunned, because under magnification, the feather showed a faint but undeniable doubling, crisp, misaligned, unnatural. It was a minting ghost, a whisper from the machine itself. Only a few escaped into circulation, but one did, and when it was finally authenticated by a third-party grading service, certified, slabbed, and auctioned, the bids began at a modest $100, then $1,000, then $10,000, and then something wild happened. Phone bidders started jumping in. Private collectors from across the country joined the war, and when the gavel finally slammed down, $1.2 million, the room went silent. Then, applause, because everyone in that auction knew this was history. The 2060 South Dakota quarter was minted in the tens of millions. Most are average worth face value. Tossed into drawers, vending machines, and car wash buckets, they carry the hidden doubling. The minting ghost. The silent error that no machine should have allowed to live. And here's where it gets even stranger. Not all the valuable errors are from the same die. Experts believe there may be multiple varieties, each with different doubling patterns. Point 1 affects the South Dakota lettering, another? The Mount Rushmore detail. Look closely at Washington's profile. A barely there doubling of his nose bridge has sent collectors spiraling down rabbit holes, but most people miss it, because the coin still feels ordinary. It's smooth, shiny, modern. It doesn't look like treasure, but one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle simply because he paused and looked twice. And if you're thinking, this could never happen to me, for dozens of Americans just like you. A retired schoolteacher in Ohio cashed in coins at her bank and nearly handed over a 5-figure gem. A mechanic in Nevada spotted the doubling in his glove box, and one teenage collector found 2 of these coins in a bag of circulated quarters at a coin show. He paid $25. He sold one for over $300,000. The other is now believed to be worth more than $1 million. Start with the Denver Mint mark, a small D just above the $1.25. That's step 1. Next, examine the reverse side. Look at the pheasant's wings, especially the tips of the feathers. Hold the coin under a strong light. Use a jeweler's loupe or 10x magnifier. If you see ghosts like doubling, faint, not fuzzy, you may be holding a double die reverse. Then inspect Mount Rushmore. Washington and Jefferson are the most common locations where doubling occurs. Look for strange lines around the noses, eyes, or necklines. It won't look like a scratch. It'll look like a second shadow of the original design. South Dakota and E pluribus unum are key. Doubling here appears as slight notches or splits in the edges of the letters. If it looks blurry, magnify. If it still looks split, you may be sitting on a goldmine, but beware, there are fakes, Chinese counterfeits. Homespun altered coins. Do not rely on your eyes alone. If you think you found one, send it to PCGS or NGC, the top 2 grading services in the US. Let the pros confirm it, because a certified error is where the $1 million magic happens. It's simple, scarcity plus mystery equals obsession. They'll pay fortunes for a flaw the government never meant to exist. Because owning that coin means owning the moment the machine failed. It means holding in your hand a piece of American minting history. Something so rare, so delicate, that it shouldn't have survived at all, but it did, and it's hiding out there, maybe in your home, your drawer, your change jar. Every time a 2006 South Dakota quarter clinks into a cash register or drops into a Coinstar machine, it could be the one. Go find every 2006 D quarter you can. Search rolls from the bank. Ask your local teller. Check yard sales, flea markets, estate auctions, because one small search could change your entire life. And the next time someone hands you a quarter, don't just glance at it. Don't toss it in a jar, look closer, because this exact coin, this ordinary little piece of metal, could be the one that turns your pocket change into over $1 million. They thought it was just another old quarter. A coin tossed in with the rest, forgotten, scuffed, and overlooked. But when it finally came into the hands of the right collector, jaws dropped. That 1984 D Washington quarter, once buried in someone's pocket change, would go on to fetch nearly $1.30 million. It's the kind of story that sends chills down a collector's spine. Because this isn't just a coin, it's a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, hidden in plain sight. And the most shocking part? You might be holding one right now, without even knowing it. Back in 1984, the Denver Mint was running full steam. Billions of coins were being struck that year. It was the kind of production line where no one blinked at minor flaws. But on a few rare quarters, something extraordinary happened. A misalignment. A double impression. A small, almost invisible die crack. And in that chaos, a miracle was minted. Collectors call it the ghost quarter, not because it's see-through, but because it vanished from records and remained in circulation, unseen and unidentified, for decades. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A man who'd never collected a coin in his life was sorting through a coffee tin full of quarters. He planned to roll them up for the bank. But one quarter felt off. Not just the weight. The color. The edges. It had a faint shimmer, something almost eerie about the way the light bounced off it. His gut told him to hold on to it. He brought it to a local coin dealer, expecting maybe a small premium. But the dealer's face went pale. This wasn't just a quarter. It was a legendary minting error that numismatists had speculated about for years, but no one had ever seen, until now, and just like that, what began as pocket change turned into a headline-grabbing auction that ended in stunned silence, followed by applause. What could possibly make a 1984 quarter worth more than a house, more than most Americans' life savings? The answer lies in the mint mark, and a mistake so small, most people never notice it. If you look closely at the D on the 1984 quarter, and I mean really closely, you might notice something strange. In the rarest versions, that D looks thicker. It's not just wear and tear. It's doubling. Clear, sharp doubling caused by a misaligned hub during the striking process. Now here's where the story takes a turn. The Denver Mint was known for being precise. But in the early 80s, they were experimenting with new dies, trying to extend their lifespan. That experiment? It backfired, leading to a handful of double die errors slipping through unnoticed. Most were caught and melted down. But a few, just a few, made it out alive. And then there's the metal composition. That same 1984 D quarter was tested and revealed unexpected trace elements not consistent with standard clad composition. Some experts believe it was struck on a leftover planchet from a foreign coin batch. Others say it was an experimental alloy test, a secret one, never recorded, and never supposed to reach the public, but it did, and that's why this coin is so valuable. It's not just rare. It's a mystery. A mistake. A story frozen in metal. Dealers are now on high alert. Shows across the country have added 1984 D quarters to their must-review lists. Collectors are sending in boxes of coins to be graded, hoping lightning will strike again, and for one man in Florida, it just might have. A high school teacher found a strange 1984 D quarter while buying snacks at a vending machine. Something about the rim felt sharp. Too sharp. He pocketed it, later sending it to PCGS. The results? Undisclosed. But rumors suggest it's now insured for 7 figures. If confirmed, it would become the second known example and possibly more valuable than the first. But here's the detail that makes this coin truly insane. On both known $1 million examples, there's a ghost-like doubling not just on the mint mark, but under Washington's chin. A ripple, like a shadow frozen in time. You can barely see it with the naked eye. But under magnification? It's undeniable. A telltale sign that you've struck gold, and most people miss it. They toss the coin aside, thinking it's scratched or worn. But that ripple is worth more than a Ferrari. Now let's talk identification. Because this could change your life. Start with the date. It must be 1984. No other year will do. Next, flip to the front. The D mint mark must be present, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. But here's where it gets tricky. The D needs to look thicker than normal. Almost like a shadow behind it. That's the doubling. Then, examine Washington's profile. Focus under the chin and jawline. You're looking for a soft, ghost-like line, almost like an echo, just below the original features. On the reverse, some versions show unusual die cracks along the eagle's wings. Not always, but if they're there, it's a strong sign you're onto something big. And here's a secret few people know. Under a blacklight, these rare quarters can sometimes show a slight fluorescence, a trait linked to their unusual alloy mix. It's not a guarantee, but it's another clue in this $1 million hunt. Avoid common mistakes. Don't confuse post-mint damage with doubling. True doubling is crisp, consistent, and follows the design elements. Worn coins with random nicks or dents. Those won't cut it, and never clean the coin. That destroys its value instantly. Even if you think it's dirty, leave it alone. Let the graders handle it, because if what you're holding is real, it's not just a coin out, it's a miracle. A 1 in a billion fluke that turned a regular quarter into a collector's fantasy. And in this economy, with prices rising and the market on fire, a coin like this doesn't just hold value, it explodes in value. So check your change. Go through those old jars, glove compartments, and dusty dresser drawers. Because somewhere out there, another one is waiting. Quiet. Unnoticed. Priceless. A plain-looking quarter. 1995, Denver Mint. Tossed between couch cushions, nearly forgotten. But what one collector found hiding in plain sight would soon stun the entire coin collecting world, because this wasn't just any Washington quarter. It was a mistake. A ghost. A phantom of the mint struck with a defect so rare, so unbelievably specific, that most people never even knew it existed. You're about to uncover the mysterious story of the 1995 D quarter dollar, how one overlooked detail turned a 25-cent coin into a $1.4 million treasure. And more importantly, how to tell if the exact same coin is hiding in your own pocket change right now. It begins deep inside the Denver Mint, in a year few collectors paid any special attention to. 1995 seemed like any other until it wasn't. Thousands of quarters were struck that year. Millions, even. But a microscopic error, invisible to most, turned a tiny handful into solid gold for collectors. Not literally gold, but worth more than many bars of it. A 1995 D Washington quarter appeared at a private estate sale in Colorado. The seller thought nothing of it. Just old change. But a sharp-eyed buyer noticed something was off. The texture. The edge. And most of all, the strike. He sent it to be authenticated. Weeks later, the results came back, and the expert at the grading agency reportedly stared in stunned silence. This was no ordinary quarter. It was struck on a 90% silver planchet, a blank that hadn't been used for circulating quarters since 1964. Think about that. A silver planchet, inside the Denver Mint, in 1995. That's like finding a cassette tape in a brand new iPhone box. The minting mistake shouldn't have been possible. It defied logic. Somehow, a decades-old silver blank had found its way back into production, and only one known example has ever surfaced. Weighing slightly more, gleaming differently in the light, its edge reflecting the past, would go on to fetch an unbelievable sum at auction. Collectors were floored. Dealers scrambled. How did we miss this? One major auction house director reportedly said. How many more are still out there? No one knows how many were made. If one silver planchet slipped through, others could have too. And that means this exact coin, this life-changing quarter, could be hiding in someone's coin jar, dresser drawer, or pocket. But the mystery doesn't stop there. Some experts believe a rogue mint worker may have been involved. That during the chaos of routine die changes, someone reintroduced an old silver blank as a prank, or a personal secret. Others say it was an accidental leftover, sitting in a bin for 30 years, waiting for its moment to shine. Whatever the truth is, one thing is certain, this coin shook the hobby to its core, and it doesn't end with silver. Another variety of the 1995 D quarter is making waves too, the rare double die reverse. To the naked eye, it looks normal. But under magnification, letters and design elements on the reverse appear doubled, a result of misalignment during the die creation process. Some examples of this double die reverse have sold for over $12,000 alone. And again, they're virtually invisible without close inspection. Some believe that a double die 1995 D also struck on a silver planchet may exist. That would make it a once-in-a-century coin, the kind that doesn't just make headlines, it changes lives. Imagine that. $1 million miracle sitting inside a forgotten coin roll. Passed from hand to hand, vending machine to cash register, for decades, all because no one looked closely enough. You know the signs to watch for. You know what made this coin so special. And if you stick with me, you're about to learn how to tell if you have one. There are fakes out there. Modern silver planchets. Altered quarters. Scammers who polish coins to fool the untrained eye. Don't fall for them. It will weigh more than a typical clad quarter, around 6.25 grams, compared to 5.67 grams. That tiny difference is critical. The IT will sound different when dropped, a high-pitched ring compared to the dull thud of copper nickel, and the edge will lack the copper stripe seen on modern quarters. Instead, it will be uniformly silver all the way through. But here's the most important detail, and most people miss it. Look closely at the D mint mark. On the genuine $1 million coin, it's ever so slightly misaligned, believed to be a result of the mint worker adjusting dies manually to accommodate the older planchet. That shift is so subtle, it almost looks accidental. But it's a dead giveaway for those who know. Check your 1995 quarters. Weigh them. Look for that telltale silver gleam. Examine the mint mark with a jeweler's loupe, because if you find the right one, your life might never be the same again. It happened before. A man in Illinois found a rare planchet error while sorting quarters for toll change. He didn't even realize what he had until his grandson pointed out the missing copper edge. That coin later sold for six figures at a private auction. Another woman, cleaning out her late father's collection, nearly gave a silver-struck 1995 D to her nephew for arcade tokens. It ended up selling to a museum curator for close to $900,000, and yet, the highest known sale still stands at $1.40 million. Coin. One chance. One life changed forever. Most people will never notice. Most people will never check, but you're not most people. You're here because you believe in possibility. Because you know that history hides in the smallest places, and that even the most ordinary quarter might carry the weight of a forgotten treasure. So the next time you get change at the gas station, pause. Take a look. Feel the weight. Check the edge, because this exact quarter, this $1 million miracle, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and if it is, your story might be the next one the coin world never forgets. It was just a regular afternoon in Denver. A retired mechanic stopped at a gas station for coffee, reached into his change, and tossed a quarter onto the counter. Nothing special, right? Just another Washington quarter, or so he thought, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That very quarter, minted in 1994 with a tiny D mark, would go on to spark a nationwide frenzy. Because once the truth came out, collectors realized this wasn't just any coin, it was one of the rarest and most mysterious Washington quarters ever made. And today, the right one could fetch up to $1.5 million. That's not a typo. $1.5 million. And here's the wildest part, one of these quarters might be sitting in your house right now. You see, back in 1994, the Denver Mint was pushing for speed. Tens of millions of quarters were struck that year. But buried in all that metal was a mistake. A subtle flaw so rare, so bizarre, it slipped past even the sharpest eyes for decades. Some experts believe it was caused by a misaligned die. Others say a foreign planchet, possibly a transitional leftover from an experimental batch, was accidentally fed into the press. Whatever the case, only a few escaped the mint, and most were spent like pocket change. One ended up in a vending machine. Another was found in a jar of coins beneath a dusty Arizona trailer. But the most famous one? That one nearly ended up in the trash, until a sharp-eyed grandmother noticed something strange about George Washington's profile. The rim looked off. The texture felt wrong. And the weight? Just slightly lighter than normal. She showed it to her grandson, who posted it in an online collectors forum. Within hours, the inbox flooded with offers. By the next week, she was sitting at a private auction house, watching stunned dealers raise their paddles like it was the gold rush all over again, and that was years ago. Today, demand has only exploded. As more collectors learn about this shadowy coin, the hunt has intensified. One expert called it the ghost quarter, because it hides in plain sight but only reveals its secrets to those who know exactly where to look. But here's what really shocked the community: this coin doesn't just look different. It feels different. Touch it, and you'll notice a slight drag, almost like the metal wasn't finished properly. Some call it the frost effect, because of how the surface glistens under a flashlight. Others swear the mint mark looks doubled, just barely, like a whisper beneath the D. But even among experts, no one agrees on just how many exist. Some say fewer than 10. Others believe over 100 could still be out there, hiding in drawers, piggy banks, and car ashtrays across America. And if that doesn't give you chills, it should, because for every collector who's found one, there are thousands who tossed it away, unaware they were holding a $1 million miracle. Off metal composition, die alignment, weak strike pressure, and perhaps most critically, a mysterious die gouge that appears just behind Washington's ponytail. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions. And most people miss it. You're sorting through old coins, and there it is. A 1994 Washington quarter with a faint D mint mark. You turn it under the light. The surface seems off. You weigh it. Just slightly under 5.67 grams. Your heart skips a beat, your hands shake. You grab a magnifier. There, just above the L in Liberty, a tiny ridge, not quite a crack, not quite a scratch, just like the ones found on confirmed million-dollar examples. You rush to a dealer. They pause. Their eyes widen. Then they make a call. Within hours, your life changes forever, because that's exactly how it happened for a woman in Kansas. She'd been collecting coins casually for years, never thinking any of them were valuable. But when she checked the weight of a strange-feeling quarter, it came in at 5.55 grams, more than a full tenth off the standard. She sent it in for grading. PCGS returned it with a red label, authentic 1994D off-metal error, transitional planchet. She never worked another day in her life. This is where it gets technical and crucial. First, check the edge. Many of the rare ones have an incomplete or blurred reeded edge, caused by a color misalignment during the striking process. Second, the color. Some surviving specimens exhibit a slightly dull, champagne tone instead of the usual silver-nickel shine. This has led some to believe a copper-based planchet was used, possibly a leftover from an early experimental strike. Drop it gently on a wooden surface. A normal quarter gives a high-pitched ring. The rare ones? A softer, more muted clink, almost like a foreign coin. But what happened next shocked even the most seasoned appraisers. In early 2024, a Texas collector submitted what he thought was a damaged 1994 quarter. The rim was off-center, and the portrait seemed slightly sunken. But when it arrived at the grading lab, they discovered something incredible. The coin was struck not once, but twice, rotated 15 degrees between strikes. A double strike error. Add in the off-metal composition, and it became a one-of-a-kind specimen. He found it while cleaning out his grandfather's tackle box. Collectors were floored. Dealers were stunned. And the coin world hasn't stopped buzzing since, because there could be dozens more still out there. Sitting in gumball machines. Buried in pocket change. Forgotten in shoeboxes. Waiting to be discovered by someone who knows the signs. Check the date. It must say 1994, with a small d just below Washington's ponytail. Weigh it. A normal quarter should be 5.67 grams. Anything under 5.6 is a red flag. Look closely, very closely, at the surface. Do you see a subtle doubling on the mint mark? A faint scratch near Liberty? A dull, almost unfinished shine. If so, you could be holding the next $1 million Washington quarter. Just one of these coins has changed lives. But the real question is,